The 10th of May, 1940, World War II, the Netherlands. Nazi Germany invades Holland, and the German air forces, the Luftwaffe, use paratroopers in the capture of tactical points and to assist in the advance of ground troops across the country. The invasion is accompanied by heavy aerial bombardment of Rotterdam and culminates on the 14th of May with the destruction of its entire historic centre. Because the Germans threatened to bomb the city of Utrecht in the same way, the Dutch forces surrender one day later. Soon after, the Nazis start to occupy the whole country and pass new anti-Jewish laws, which are designed to exclude Jewish people from society and restrict their livelihood. The systematic deportations of Dutch Jews to death camps start in July 1942. Many Jews go into hiding, but the possibility of their survival is reduced by the presence of Jew hunters, who are tempted by the lure of monetary rewards. One such Jew hunter is Ans Van Dijk. Ans Van Dijk was born on the 24th of December 1905 in Amsterdam, the Netherlands, to Jewish parents Aaron Van Dijk and Katia Blick. Ans was a difficult child and was under the care of a pediatrician from the age of 5. In 1919, at the age of 14, she lost her mother. In 1927, Ans married Abraham Querido, who, like her, was of Jewish descent. The marriage remained childless, and they separated in 1935. Soon after, Van Dijk began a lesbian relationship with a woman named Miep Stordel, whom she employed in her shop named Maison Avenue on the Nieuwendijk, which is a major shopping street in central Amsterdam. The two women lived together in an apartment above the store, liked to go out in cafes, and Van Dijk made numerous friends in the Amsterdam lesbian scene. World War II started on the 1st of September 1939. The same year, Ans' father died in a psychiatric institution. On the 10th of May 1940, Germany invaded the Netherlands. Soon after, a civil administration was installed under SS auspices, and Arthur Seyss-Inquart was appointed Rijkskommissar of the Netherlands. Among his first steps were a series of laws posing economic discriminations against the Jews. During 1940, the German occupation authorities banned Jews from the civil service and required Jews to register the assets of their business enterprises. On the 3rd of October the same year, Ans Van Dijk and Abraham Querido were officially divorced. In January 1941, the German authorities required all Jews to register themselves as Jews. A total of 159,806 persons were registered, including 19,561 persons born of mixed marriages. The total number included some 25,000 Jewish refugees from the German Reich. A Jewish council was established in February 1941. On the 22nd and 23rd of February the same year, German forces raided the Jewish quarter in Amsterdam, arresting and deporting more than 400 Jewish men to the Buchenwald and Mauthausen concentration camps. The Dutch people's reaction was unique among the Nazi-occupied Europe. They organized the February Strike, a 2-day general strike which started on the 25th of February 1941. German officials brutally suppressed the strike. This action was followed by a hardening in Nazi policy. The German authorities, as well as collaborating Dutch authorities and civil services, segregated Jews from the general Dutch population and incarcerated 15,000 of them in German-administered forced labor camps. The Germans then ordered the concentration of Jews in Amsterdam and sent foreign and stateless Jews to Westerbork transit camp in the northeast part of the country. Some of the remaining provincial Jews were sent to the Vught camp. The sign "Forbidden for Jews" appeared on the doors and gates of cafes, swimming pools, sports fields, museums, zoos, libraries, theaters, markets, and many other public places. Jews had to hand over their valuables and their businesses were confiscated. Such was also the case of a shop owned by Ans Van Dijk, who had to close it in November 1941. After that, in order to conceal herself, she dyed her hair blonde and managed to obtain a false identity card in the name of Alfonsia Maria Annie de Jong. Her friend Miep Stordel fled to Switzerland in July of the following year. Regulations which forced Jews to wear a yellow Star of David on their clothing as a means of identification were announced in the Netherlands on the 29th of April 1942. Those caught without the badge after the 5th of May, when they came into effect, were arrested and detained for a 6-week period to serve at Mauthausen. In the Netherlands, everyone knew that this was a death sentence. Deportations of Jews from the Netherlands began in July 1942. The last train left Westerbork for Auschwitz on the 3rd of September 1944. During these 2 years, the Germans and their Dutch collaborators deported some 107,000 Jews, mostly to Auschwitz and Sobibor, where they were murdered. Only 5,200 survived. Because some Dutch citizens couldn't bear to see what was happening to their country and people and resisted the occupation, they joined the resistance. The resistance's counterintelligence, domestic sabotage, and communications networks helped to provide key support to the Allied forces throughout the liberation of Holland. Members of the resistance, if discovered, were immediately sentenced to death. Van Dijk initially helped the resistance by supplying her fellow Jews with hiding places, identity papers, and necessities. Between 25,000 and 30,000 Jews went into hiding in the Netherlands, and Ans Van Dijk was one of them. Hiding in Amsterdam's Marco Polo Straat, she had accommodated 2 Jewish ladies at another address in the same street. However, these ladies were betrayed, and in turn told that the hiding place had been handed to them by Van Dijk, who was arrested on Easter Sunday, 1943, by Pieter Schaap, a detective of the Office of Jewish Affairs of the Amsterdam Police. At the office, Ans was given a choice: either go to the east or work together with the Nazis. She decided to team up with the SD, the German security police, and from that moment on, her life took a dramatic turn. Pretending to be a member of the illegal resistance organization, Free Netherlands, she offered to help Jews find hiding places and obtain false papers. Van Dijk convinced dozens of Jews that she sought to help them. Instead, she betrayed their hiding places to Schaap, who in turn had the Jews arrested. Her house in Jekerstraat in Amsterdam served as a trap. The previously rather shy woman, with little self-confidence, blossomed through her work for the Bureau. In addition, she received praise and recognition for every person who got caught by the Germans with her help. Within a couple of months of making her arrangement with Schaap, Van Dijk found herself at the head of the group of women hunting Jews. Among these women were Rosalie Rosendahl, who tried to protect herself and her mother from deportation, and Branka Simons as well was given the choice by the SD to be deported or to help track down Jews in hiding. Both Ans Van Dijk and Simons were regularly placed in a cell with arrested Jews, and thus obtained further information from them. However, the most fanatical of the group was Ans Van Dijk, whom Pieter Schaap, her Nazi superior, described as the best of his 10 employees. She developed what the prosecutor later described as a satanic hunting instinct. She betrayed anyone who got in her way: friends, her own brother, his wife, and their 3 children, as well as the family of her own girlfriend. Abraham Guerrido, her former husband, died on the 30th of June, 1944, in the Blechhammer concentration camp. However, a connection between his deportation and the activities of Van Dijk is not confirmed. Van Dijk also tried to make an appointment with Louis Studel, the brother of her friend Miep, who had fled to Switzerland. Fortunately, Louis did not trust the case, did not show up, and survived the war. Together with her accomplices, Ans Van Dijk betrayed 145 people, 107 Jews, and 38 non-Jewish Dutchmen in the period between May 1943 and August 1944. Only a small proportion of these people survived the concentration camps. However, she may have been responsible for the deaths of as many as 700 people. In his book, The Backyard of the Secret Annex, author Gerard Kremer claims that Van Dijk was responsible for betraying Anne Frank and 7 other Jews in hiding behind Otto Frank's office building at Prinsengracht 263 in Amsterdam. According to Kremer, his late father, also named Gerard Kremer, occasionally spotted Van Dijk during his visits to a Nazi office building where Kremer had worked during the war. There, she supposedly met with handlers and made phone calls. But despite independent and police studies, this theory has neither been proved nor disproved. After the Allied landing in Normandy in June 1944, the Western Allies rapidly advanced in the direction of the Dutch border. The invasion and the growing certainty that Germany would lose the war did not dampen the zeal of Ans Van Dijk and her colleagues. After they came into contact with a resistance fighter and hinted that they themselves were also involved in the underground, they won his trust and traced a number of hiding places through him. On the 18th of August 1944, the Germans raided various places in the Dutch town of Zeist and arrested 30 to 40 people, including 12 Jews. Only a few of those 12 survived the war. In the Netherlands, between 25 and 30,000 Jews went into hiding during the war. 2/3 of those managed to survive. The Germans officially surrendered all their troops in the Netherlands on the 5th of May, 1945, 3 days before the general capitulation of Germany. After the end of the war, Van Dijk moved to The Hague, where she was arrested at her girlfriend's home on the 20th of June, 1945. Charged with 23 counts of treason, Van Dijk appeared before a special court in Amsterdam and confessed to all the counts against her, explaining that she had only acted out of self-preservation, adding her enormous fear of the SD as an explanation for her traitorous role. During her trial, which began in February 1947, Van Dijk admitted to helping the Nazis capture at least 145 Jews, including her relatives. Her ex-lover, whose relatives had been betrayed by Van Dijk as well, referred to her as a devil in human form. Requests to have her psychologically examined were rejected by the presiding judge, who asked her, "How can you still sleep? Don't you always see all those people in front of you?" Ans Van Dijk was sentenced to death for treason. She filed appeals to both the court and the Queen Wilhelmina, but both were rejected. Van Dijk's accomplices, Rosalie Rosendahl and Branka Simons, were arrested as well. Rosendahl was released from prison in 1947, Simons in 1959. The day before her execution, in a final, desperate attempt to save her life, Ans Van Dijk had been baptized and joined the Roman Catholic Church. However, nothing could save her. Ans Van Dijk was 42 years old when she was executed by firing squad on the 14th of January, 1948. Peter Schaap, Van Dijk's former superior, jointly responsible for the arrest of 10,000 Jews, was executed the same way 1 year later. After the war, a total of 39 people were executed in the Netherlands because of their war past. Of those 39, Van Dijk, who has become synonymous with treason of the Jews in the Netherlands, was the only woman. There were no tears shed for Ans Van Dijk. Thanks for watching the World History Channel. Be sure to like and subscribe, and click the bell notification icon so you don't miss our next episodes. We thank you, and we'll see you next time on the channel.